Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, from the 9th canto, chapter 8, entitled The Sons of Sagar Meet Lord Kapiladev, text number 22. Ye deha bhaja striguna pradana Gunan vipasyanti utavatamascha Yanmaya yamohita chetasastvam Vidu swasanstan nabahi prakasha Yea, those persons who Dehabhaja have accepted the material body. Triguna pradana, influenced by the three modes of material nature. Gunan, the manifestation of the three modes of material nature. Vipasyanti, can see only. Uta, it is so said. Va, either. Tamaha, the mode of ignorance. Cha, and. Yadmayaya, by the illusory energy of whom? Mohita, has been bewildered. Chetasaha, the core of whose heart? Tvam, your lordship. Vidu, no. Swasanstam, situated in one's own body. Na, not. Bahi prakashaha, those who can see only the products of external energy. Translation. My Lord, you are fully situated in everyone's heart, but the living entities covered by the material body cannot see you, for they are influenced by the external energy, conducted by the three modes of material nature. Their intelligence being covered by Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun, they can see only the actions and reactions of these three modes of material nature. Because of the actions and reactions of the mode of ignorance, whether the living entities are awake or sleeping, they can see only the workings of material nature. They cannot see your lordship. Purport. Unless one is situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, one is unable to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart. However, because the conditioned souls are influenced by material nature, they can see only the actions and reactions of material nature, but not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One therefore must purify himself internally and externally. Apavitra apavitro va sarvavastam gadu piva yasmarit pundarikaksam sabaya bhyantara suchi. To keep ourselves externally clean, we should bathe 3 times daily. And for internal cleanliness, we must cleanse the heart by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement must always follow this principle. Bhaya bhyantara suchi. Then it will one day be possible to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyanandana Salakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kadamayam dadati swapadantikam vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sivisakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Visabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyacha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaisnavibhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So as Srila Prabhupada begins his purport, unless one is situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, one is unable to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such transcendental devotional service is only available in this world by the mercy of the pure devotees of the Lord. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagavana Jeev Guru Krishna Prasada Paya Bhakti Lata Beach. That life after life we are simply traveling throughout this universe. Yad Brahma, that Uparyada, sometimes upwards, sometimes downwards in the universe, life after life. And only by the intervention of a Vaishnava is it possible to achieve devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami explains that generally spiritual life is a continuation from previous life. In this way, as different types of grass, dry grass, wet grass, and the dry grass very easily catches fire. It takes just a little spark. So in this way, different living beings are coming to devotional service. Some already had achieved some level of advancement in a previous life, and then very easily continue in this life, and very quickly again can come to great focus in devotional service. Not so distracted by the material energy. Others are struggling, and the material energy seems to be all powerful, and although they are receiving transcendental knowledge, spiritual life is one big struggle. Whatever it may be, whatever our position may be. I sketched two extremes, and we may be somewhere in between. Whatever it may be, akama sarva kama va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yayeta purusham param. That whatever the situation may be, whether we are kama or akama, whether we have material desires or don't have material desires, still one should engage in the unadulterated process of devotional service. And in this way, we become purified. So many spiritual masters appear in the material world, and it is by the mercy of such personalities that one can receive the Bhakti Lata Beach, and one can begin his devotional service. When Srila Prabhupada was in the early days in San Francisco, at one point his health was taking a turn for the worst, and the situation in America, the weather was just not conducive. Prabhupada needed heat, and his body being from India. So Prabhupada decided to go back to India for some time, and that of course was a great crisis in a way, because he was Krishna conscious. He was Krishna consciousness, right? Without him, where was Krishna consciousness? Right? So there was a great concern, and someone suggested maybe someone else can come from India and at least to sort of take your place. And then Prabhupada became grave and quiet and said that my spiritual master was not an ordinary spiritual master. In this way, surely we can say Srila Prabhupada was not an ordinary spiritual master. He by far exceeded what any spiritual master would possibly do. In the Srimad Bhagavatam Rita, there's an interesting description about Gopakumar, who is searching for the ultimate goal in life, and who is given a mantra to chant by his spiritual master. And as he is chanting his mantra, he becomes purified. And on the strength of that chanting, he becomes gradually uplifted and comes to higher stages of consciousness, which then manifests in the book that Gopakumar becomes empowered to travel to higher abodes. And in the cause of all this, Gopakumar is traveling, and he is coming up to higher and higher levels of worship of the Supreme Lord. And at one point, Gopakumar meets his spiritual master. And the spiritual master is overwhelmed by ecstatic symptoms, deeply absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And as a result, he gives Gopakumar only half instructions. He gives him half instructions and then becomes overwhelmed and never finishes his instruction fully of how to practice spiritual life. And then before you know it, he's already gone. And Gopakumar goes to work as good as he can with those instructions. And even then, he attains perfection. Because of his sincerity, in trying to fulfill the order of his spiritual master, the Lord personally intervenes. Tatenu kampam susamiksamano bunjane vatmakritam vipakam ridvakva purva yuvidadan namaste yamuktipabe sadayavak. The spiritual master is manifesting from within the heart. In Bhagavad Gita also, Tesam evanukam partam aham agyana jam tamaha nasiyami atmabhavasto jnana dipena baswata. There also it is stated that nasiyami atmabhavasto, I'm residing, Krishna says, I'm residing within the consciousness of the living being. And when the living being turns to me, and then somehow or other, I help him from within. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport explains that even when the spiritual master gives us all the instructions, still if somehow or other we're not able to fully take advantage of these instructions, then Krishna helps from within. And then somehow or other, it also becomes possible still to attain perfection. Now, Srila Prabhupada was no ordinary spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada left no stone unturned. He left no opportunity. He let no opportunity to go by. Any opportunity he got. First of all, to reach out to conditioned souls and to somehow or other enter into their little world of ignorance and to pierce the boundaries of false ego and to just enter there and just forcefully with Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada tried every opportunity, and then he also took every opportunity to teach and to make the teachings available in great detail. In great detail. How would we have ever understood the Bhagavatam? Even if we would have understood that the Bhagavatam is the principal literature of Lord Chaitanya's movement. Even if we would have somehow or other grasped that point, how would we have understood it? Without Prabhupada's purports. Not possible. I mean, take for example, there's the description of Puranjan, and it's a very allegorical story and complex symbolism. Who would have figured it out? Who would have figured it out? But Prabhupada brought his purports, and in these purports he faithfully consulted the acharyas and their commentaries. So he collected all the essence from these commentaries, then he added his own explanations, and in this way made everything crystal clear. Where has such clarity been available before? Where has the world ever seen such an inundation of transcendental knowledge? Where? When was it ever available? We cannot see that in the history of the world. All this detailed knowledge, now easily available. Srila Prabhupada was in Mayapur, and he saw Satadanya with a book in his hand, and it clearly was not Prabhupada's book. So Prabhupada said, "So, what is that book you are reading?" And Satadanya said, he thought he had a good reply. He said, "It's a book of your spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada." He's thinking, what will he say now? Can't say anything to that. And Prabhupada said, oh, no one can understand my spiritual master. Only I can understand his books. And then that finished him off. So, such clarity. Prabhupada gave everything in such clarity. And yet, we still get distracted. Somehow or other, we read so many things, but not the books. Yes, there's enough to read these days, especially in your pocket, electronically. Can just scroll page after page. Some people keep on scrolling on Facebook and it becomes compulsive. They can't stop it anymore. And the thumb just keeps on scrolling screens down until they have to go to the funny farm for a while. What can we say? Distraction. Kali has arranged so many ways to infiltrate and to distract the Sankirtan movement. In a conversation with Hayagriva, which is it's actually the beginning of all Prabhupada's recorded conversations, begins kind of there, with a discussion with Hayagriva about the play, the Kali play. And Hayagriva is a professor in English language, and he thinks, let me help the Swami, right? Because in those days, Swamiji is just kind of there with a handful of followers, and Hayagriva thinks, I have to help him. He doesn't see Prabhupada is descending just from the pure transcendental platform, and every single word is filled with unlimited potency. So Prabhupada begins to explain the play, and he begins to explain Kali in the play. And now when we read that play, and because we have studied more, and now because we have also looked at some of the Goswami writings, now we know that Prabhupada's Chaitanya play was based on the play of Kavi Karnapur. And we know that Prabhupada was basically following that play. And in that play, at one point, it is described that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reveals his transcendental nature at the time of the Mahaprakash Leela, and how there is a spontaneous, Mahaprabhu sits on the altar in Srivas's house, moves the shaligrams aside and just sits right there on the altar. And then everyone spontaneously begins to bring ingredients for an abhishek. And they begin that abhishek and so on. And in this whole setting, gradually everyone becomes clear as to who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, and how everything depends on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then Kali is standing there, witnessing the whole thing from a distance, together with adharma, with sin personified, with irreligion. And Kali says, we are finished. We are finished. Dharma says, come on, don't be so depressed. Right? What's wrong with you? I mean, lately, you're suffering from depression, right? What's all this pessimism? Be optimistic. We can be successful. Look, he has many followers. We will corrupt him. Look, the women are worship him. Look, he'll surely fall down. Look. Kali said, forget it, sin. Don't waste your time. And then Srila Prabhupada, who is he? Who is he? How can we understand who he is? The intimate servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the one who was chosen to do one thing, to take this Krishna consciousness, which Mahaprabhu had spread all over India, from east to west, and to take it all over the world. And Prabhupada did it. He did it. And Prabhupada said, he says, just like a disease. He said, if you catch a disease, once the disease is in an advanced stage, it cannot be undone anymore. Then it cannot be stopped. He said, in the same way, this movement cannot be stopped anymore. It cannot be stopped anymore. Well, that's encouraging, at least to me, because even we can't spoil it. Right? That is, that's reassuring. I kind of feel, because sometimes in our foolishness, we may make so many mistakes in our personal spiritual lives or in this mission, but it cannot be undone. It cannot be stopped. Prabhupada took it to that point where this movement will carry on. I was reading in Prabhupada's letters and came across a letter where Prabhupada described that. He said, my spiritual master now has returned to his eternal position in his Nitya Lila as a Manjari. Yeah. And then I kept on reading the letters, and then a little further, a few months later, there was another letter. Right? Another letter where Prabhupada said that now that my spiritual master has entered into his Nitya Lila, I am sure that he is still watching everything I do. And when I read that, I thought, wow, this is really something. Because, all right, generally, after the departure of a great Vaishnava, the Vapu, or the personal presence, is no longer there, and we are looking at the Vani, at the instructions, at his words. And we also see in the beginning of Bhagavatam, he lives forever in his books, and the follower lives with him. So that's all Vani, right? But then from these letters, I was thinking, no, it's not only Vani, because if Prabhupada said his spiritual master was still looking at everything he did, then Prabhupada is surely looking at everything we do. And not only looking, if he can look, we know how it was here in Vrindavan with Sakshi Gopal. Sakshi Gopal was the witness. Two brahmanas, young brahmana, elder brahmana was being served so nice by the young brahmana, elder brahmana rich, young brahmana poor. Then elder brahmana so satisfied, you must marry my daughter. No, 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 I'm not qualified. No, no, yes, yes, yes. No, no, yes, yes. Then finally, yes, all right, I accept, but please say this in front of the deity of Gopal. So that he is our witness. Anyway, later that brahmana both the brahmanas went home, and then the family of the brahmana became so against the whole thing that finally his wife said, I'll take poison if you do this. So it's like, what do I do now? So then his son said, no problem. You just say you can't remember, and I'll do the rest. Then his son did a lot of politics and said, when they were in Vrindavan, this young rascal gave my father datura, some heavy drug, some herb, and he became, quote, totally confused, and he can't remember anything, and now this young rascal says that my father promised the marriage, yes, like this. But then And then finally he said, do you have a witness? Do you have a witness? Yes, I have a witness. The deity is the witness. Oh, the deity is the witness. Yes, the deity. Okay. And then, very nice. The son of the Brahmana thought, so what? Deities don't speak. But the young Brahmana went to Vrindavan and said, yes, can you, he told the deity, he said, you have to come. You have to come because, you know, I mean, the elder Brahmana gave his word. The word of a Brahmana cannot go in vain. Therefore you must come. You must come. Then Gopal spoke. And Gopal said, you know, how can I walk? I'm a deity. Then the young Brahmana said, if you can talk, you can walk. And then, yes, that deity walked, as we know, all the way to the other side of India. So, in the same way, I was thinking, if Prabhupada, if Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is still looking down upon this world, yes, then Prabhupada is also. And if Prabhupada can see, then he will also intervene. So I think he's actively saving us every day. That also is reassuring to me, because in comparison to Srila Prabhupada, even all of us together are dwarfed. Even all of us together, the whole movement. We are dwarfed in intelligence, dwarfed in surrender, dwarfed in service, dwarfed in all respects. So we depend on this mercy, and we depend on Srila Prabhupada in all respects. It is by his service, that he has attracted the mercy of Krishna. And if therefore Prabhupada desired that we would go back to Godhead, then we will go, because Krishna will uphold whatever he desires. He has purchased Krishna. And that is how it works. Like if Prabhupada said 16 rounds, 4 regulative principles, you go back to Godhead, then we'll go back to Godhead. If we look in the scriptures, we don't see that phrase, back to Godhead, like really highlighted. If we look in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see the goal of life is Prema Pumartha Mahan. That is what is highlighting. The ultimate benefit of human life is to develop love of God. That is what is highlighted. Love of God, Prema Pumartha Mahan. But Prabhupada didn't say regularly Prema Pumartha Mahan. Prabhupada didn't call his magazine Prema Pumartha Mahan. Prabhupada called it Back to Godhead. It's a bit long for a magazine. Magazines are like Time, Life, you know, short names. Back to Godhead, you know. You would have called, an editor would have clipped off back to, say, Godhead, right? That would be enough, right? But no, Back to Godhead, because that was more than the name of a magazine. That was Prabhupada's motto. That was Prabhupada, that was what he was doing. That was what he was giving. Back to Godhead. 16 rounds, 4 regulated principles. Don't worry about your state of consciousness. Oh, my consciousness. Oh, I have to talk to you about my consciousness, because my consciousness is so many problems in my consciousness. Yes, don't worry about your consciousness. It's okay. It's just your hand luggage, right? That's your hand luggage. But you get on the flight by simply faithfully chanting 16 rounds and 4 regulative principles. And then internally, whatever is going on, please don't tell me. Let it go on, but stay within the boundaries of 16 rounds and 4 regulative principles, because Prabhupada said, you just do that, you'll go back to Godhead. And what about Krishna praying? Yeah, that you'll also get somewhere. Latest at the gate, right? Latest at the gate, at the door. Because there, in the spiritual world, everyone's got it. Let us just visualize for a moment what is going on here. What is going on with this movement? Romanchakam Pashu Taranga Bajo. Who has the hair standing on end? Who has the tears shooting from his eyes? Prabhupada, yes. The diamond tear and other tears on other occasions, yes. That's recorded. That's been witnessed. That is known. I mean, in my case, nothing. No such thing. The only time the hairs stand on end when it's freezing cold. and otherwise, forget it, right? But somehow or other, so that is not the issue. The issue is, are we taking shelter? Are we simply taking shelter? The more we take shelter, the more benefit we will get. The more we take shelter of this Srimad Bhagavatam, the more we take shelter of Srila Prabhupada, the more we take shelter of his teachings. Here in Vrindavan, everyone says Radhe Radhe, Prabhupada says Hare Krishna. Right? That was his response. Hare Krishna. Not Radhe Radhe, Hare Krishna. And the main deities are Krishna Balaram on the main altar. Why not Radha Shyamasundar and Krishna Balaram on the side altar? Why not? Because Prabhupada writes in his Chaitanya Charitamrita purports that Krishna Balaram are none different from Gaur-Nitai. And without Gaur-Nitai, what are we doing here? Without Gaur-Nitai, what can we do here? Radhe Radhe. We are light years away. We are. How can we understand? How can we understand the pure love of the residents of Vrindavan? But by serving the servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and taking part in this mission. Srila Prabhupada's vision for the Krishna Balaram Mandir was not to create a place of bhajan. Yes, the Krishna Balaram Mandir was bhajan, meaning that we would perform our own spiritual practices to elevate ourselves. Certainly, Prabhupada wanted devotees to come here to be rejuvenated. But more so, and I'm only speaking about this Krishna Balaram Mandir because I joined here, because I was the temple president here, because for many years this was my project, but by an arrangement of Krishna, I got a bullet in the back and then I had to go, and then I wound up preaching outside of Vrindavan. But I joined here, so this is still my home, and I'm still serving here. But Prabhupada's vision for this temple was as a place where everyone could get the quality of Krishna consciousness. From here, this place, anybody who gets touched by Krishna consciousness is going to wind up here. Sometimes they're saying, oh, we should make this temple bigger. We should fill the courtyard. We should, open up the jolly because it's too small. No matter, even if we make a temple of 1 square kilometer, it will still be too small if this movement keeps on preaching, because anybody who gets touched by Krishna sooner or later will come here. That is the purpose of this place. And then this is the place of quality. This is the place of pure devotional service. Prabhupada said 25 Goswamis he wanted here. 25 devotees like the Goswamis he wrote, like that. And he's describing the 6 Goswamis. 25 he wanted. Exemplary devotees. A lot of work to do. A lot more to achieve. Yes. Some of us got a danda, but then to be a Goswami, that's more difficult than taking a danda. That means pure devotional service. So in this way, we come here and see the heartbeat of a movement here in Vrindavan, the purity of the movement. And it is that purity, and Prabhupada is just investing that purity again and again into this movement and making endless arrangements to flood the entire world. Okay, I guess I've used up the time. So I'll end with that. And I thank you for allowing me to say something. Any questions or any comments? Okay, Sudi Prabhu is first. Is there a microphone? There usually is. But someone has to turn it on. Technician, turn it on.
I love the way how you made it so practical. What we do, instead of worrying about our consciousness. You know, I was telling that to several devotees that sometimes our consciousness isn't as good as we'd like it to be, but instead of trying to take our temperature all the time, we just keep practicing and trying to serve Krishna, and that's the most important part, instead of checking to see exactly where we're at.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that though. I mean, that obviously, if the consciousness is not good, then the four regulative principles and the 16 rounds become like the walls of a pressure cooker. And then within those 16 rounds and four regulative principles, this whole turmoil is there, and you know, and then people will want to let out steam. So therefore the consciousness is also important. And I find that as soon as I open the Bhagavatam, right, then immediately my consciousness goes up. It immediately goes up. So like this, we have to make an effort to raise our consciousness. Not that we're all on automatic pilot and think, oh great, great, everything is all right now. The bar is not so high. We just have to be around and chant our 16 rounds and 4x and everything is great. No, the endeavor also helps a lot, because if you walk around with a lot of pressure inside, then there is the risk of what the German psychologist called a Schattendurchbruch. And a Schattendurchbruch, it's a term in psychology, is that suddenly, unexpected, unwanted, from the subconscious, something dark just breaks through to the surface, and unwantingly, undesiringly, some sinful activity, some unexpected fall down. Even the person themselves didn't contemplate it. It happens. What to speak of sitting there with a lower state of consciousness and contemplating sinful activity? What to speak of that? And chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, but contemplating, then, then a slip between the cup and the lip, right, can make a mess. So, okay, that I should add, you know, otherwise.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Kanana Salakya Saksur-militam yena tasmai Sigurave namaha Vancha kalpatarubhyacha Kripa sindubhyevacha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaisnavebhyo Namo namaha. Once Maharaj Pariksit was roaming his kingdom and came across a terrible scene. A scene where a cow had been attacked by some low-class dark man dressed like a king, who had with a stick broken the legs of a bull. Maharaj Pariksit, being a valiant king, immediately took action and was ready to fight that man in the royal dress. None other than Kali personified. Kali, instead of fighting, immediately fell at the feet of the king like a subordinate, not ready to fight. Maharaj Pariksit took full action and said Kali could not stay in the kingdom. Kali said, "What will I do? I took shelter. I am Praja. I exist. I've taken birth. I need to exist somewhere. Where can I exist?" Maharaj Pariksit said, "You can stay in 4 places. There where there is gambling, meat eating, illicit sex, and intoxication. There was no such place." Kali couldn't find such a place, so came back and said, "Where will I stay?" Then Maharaj Pariksit said, "Okay, you can stay where gold is stored." From this 16th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada phrased the 4 regulative principles, which he formally introduced for his followers. As Srila Prabhupada was preaching to the modern world, he spelled it out, what to follow to become free from the influence of the age of Kali. Then Mahaprabhu gave the Yuga Dharma, the chanting of the holy name, and not only that, Katanchana smite yasmin duskaram sukaram bhavet. He also added his mercy and made what is difficult easy. And so, the fundamental tenets of Krishna consciousness for the modern world took shape. 16 rounds minimum and 4 regulative principles. You all are the fortunate people, because you all came in touch with transcendental knowledge and with Vaishnavas. And as a result, you took up this process of sadhana bhakti, chanting Hare Krishna and following four regulative principles. Who in this world is prepared to live like that? But by Srila Prabhupada's and his followers' inspiration, we were ready. You were ready. You became the heroes. You are walking a heroic path, most glorious. Everything is blessed on the way. Nothing could be better. What a wonderful life have you been given. So I am very glad that I could be instrumental to inspire you to remain on that path. And through my written, recorded words, recorded kirtan, and all else that remains behind, through the memories in your heart, I will continue to inspire you to stay on this path, through thick and thin. When all is blissful, when all is struggle, do not waver. It is, you got the greatest treasure. Never forget. Nowhere in this world is there such wealth. The wealthiest man in the world is a pauper. You have the real wealth. Treasure it. Relish it. Cherish it. Hold it close. Hold it close. Don't become slack, neglectful. Hold it close. Chant every day. Hear every day. Carve these principles in stone. Let them be there every day. And your life will be wonderful. And at the end, go back to Godhead, and we can physically reunite and celebrate there like we've never celebrated before. So looking forward to the great, great festival that is to come, where all of us will together and celebrate to another dimension, where the bliss will rise to levels never seen, never heard of. That time is not far away. Life is short. Prabhupada said, just give this one life to me. Please do that. Just give it, and everything will become most amazing. I'm saying goodbye to you for just a short time. For when we will be, I'll stay with you in my words and memories. I'll be with you on the path. And I'm waiting for you on the other end to meet you again in person. Soon, soon, miracles will happen. Soon, we will see love. We will see bliss. We will see fulfillment beyond our imagination, beyond our expectation. Remember Dhruva. When he met the Lord, all his previous expectations, he said, they're like broken pieces of glass. You gave me jewels. All we ever desired were broken pieces of glass. The Lord will give us jewels. Oh, stay on the path. Don't get lost. Come quickly. Let us join this festival of Krishna, the festival of unlimited, ever-growing love. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,